Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Inside the 20 with myself and Keith Niebuhr. We will do our absolute best to get as much recruiting intel to you inside the 20-minute mark. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live, and I'm joined by Mr. Keith Niebuhr. Keith,
I'm worn out, man. I don't know about you.
Yeah, pretty worn out, man. Pretty worn out. We're
trying to figure out who Auburn's going to get, who Auburn could get, who Auburn won't get. What new targets are moving up, which ones are moving down, and it's been a crazy few days with all those visitors in for Junior Day.
My goodness, it was, man. And before we get started, Keith,
yeah,
I know folks are looking for a new car. Got exactly the man you need to be calling, Mr. Caleb Schofield with Mike Patton Auto in LaGrange, Georgia. Caleb's got a new Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Hondas. Fantastic used car lot. All those used cars come with a multi-point inspection before they even consider selling them. They back all those used cars with a free 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty. All new vehicles come with a free lifetime powertrain warranty, unlimited miles, unlimited time. And I think he's still got a couple of those Ford Broncos, Keith. Two four-door Broncos in stock, one black, one cactus gray that Keith loves. Also have a brand new all-electric Ford Lightning F-150 in stock. Give Caleb Schofield a call, 334-531-0996. Caleb Schofield, Mike Patton Auto in LaGrange, Georgia. All right, Keith.
Yeah, man.
You used that Bronco this weekend. You drove up from Tampa to Auburn, back to Tampa. In the in the midst of all of that, Auburn had a Junior Day, which is probably the reason you were on the road. We talked about it last night on the call-in show, Keith, but for those not that missed that call-in show, Auburn had 204. At least that's what we were told. 204 recruits on campus. A lot of elite recruits from the 2024, 2025, 2026, and even 2027 classes. Man, It was a big day.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to go back and try to remember all the names of all the kids that went. I mean, there were over 200 kids at Auburn, and I'd say maybe Jeff, what do you think? 30 to 35 are legit targets. That's actually a good number. That's actually a really good number. I mean, the overall number was big, almost too big because you can't.
If you take those 30 to 35 and you send everybody else home, you've got a big cat weekend list.
Oh yeah, it was very good. And we think they made a lot of progress with certain guys. I mean, there were kids committed from other schools. There were a lot of them, but 2 from Georgia, 1 Florida commit, 1 LSU commit, a Bama commit. So they got guys from different classes too, 24, 2020, which they're playing catch up in the 2024 class, 2025. Now they're almost on even footing there, 2026. Jeffrey, there was even a 2027 quarterback. We've mentioned him before, Trent Seaborn from Thompson High School in Alabama that already has a dozen offers. So they layered it out well. So they were focusing on the now and future classes, starting to build those relationships with all those kids. But just overall, I think the impressions, I mean, by and large, this Junior Day was well received. Like we mentioned on our call-in show, the kids seem to really like this staff. I mean, some staffs, you only hear about a couple guys, a few guys. That guy's cool. And then you hear nothing about some of the others. We're hearing about on-field guys. We're hearing about off-field guys. We're hearing about how personable Hugh Freeze is. I did an interview this morning, not Junior Day related, and somebody mentioned a QB analyst. And so used to be it was your position coach, the head coach, and that's it. We're hearing about all kinds of people. So that vibe was positive. And then, Jeffrey, people were blown away by the football facility. Not surprised. That's the first time I've seen it finished, and it is massive. I mean, it is massive. And the kids and their families really seem to like that too. So it seemed like it was a win all the way around for Auburn. Now, our commitment's going to come. You and I certainly think so. We were pretty sure they're coming. And so they laid the groundwork for some of this, for good news to come in the coming days, we think.
Talked about it last night, man. I'll be curious to see at the end of the day how many of this, when Auburn finishes their 2024 class, I want to look back and see how many of the signees of this class ended up making it yesterday. Keith, we talked about signing day being for the 2023 class is Wednesday. We don't expect at least anybody besides Jeremiah Cobb to be announced as a signee. And, Keith, what I got to thinking is if you're not going to have a big signing day, if you don't have really much news coming out of Wednesday, as we expect there to not be for Auburn, what better day than to have a couple of commitments?
Yeah, I mean that's what you're looking for buzz. And again, another recruit I talked to today, and we'll get into that later. Walker White, 4-star quarterback.
Right.
He was not there this weekend, but he's one of Auburn's big QB targets. And we think he's down to 4 schools basically. Auburn's one, and we think it's probably going to be Auburn or Clemson. But I said, if you pick Auburn, why Auburn? He said because of the staff that they're putting together, the offensive minds they're putting together. And Jeff, we were talking about commitments and decisions, and I just went off on a tangent. But
no, I was going to get to Walker White anyways.
I don't even know why I went in that direction. I had a thought and lost it. But
is he getting close to making a decision?
He's getting close, yeah. But you do want you. Oh, he said, you know what? They've got a lot of momentum. Okay. He said they've got a lot of momentum. So that was my point. If you can create some momentum with some commitments this week, not create, but if you can generate some momentum, that's good too. A lot of eyes are on the Auburn program right now. They've got a lot of people looking at them. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of chatter, and that's one way to keep it going. You're right, because there's going to be schools in the SEC that maybe sign one guy or get one new commitment Wednesday. So for all intents and purposes, signing day is in December until they change. You know what? They may change it back, by the way.
Oh, boy, I'd love that.
For now, signing day is in December. This is just kind of an extra thing. And so, yes, why not get the ball rolling on a future class? And Jeffrey, they had some really, and people were going to want some names. They want to know who.
Well, that's fine, because we put in 2 predictions Saturday. Both you and I both did. We put in predictions for 4-star Jaden Lewis, the cornerback from Anniston, Alabama, 2024 kid, and also the 2025 defensive lineman Malik Autry from Opelika. Both of those guys were in town on Saturday. I talked to both of them when they left. Jaden Lewis has been high on Auburn for a long time. This is not anything new. This is not breaking news or anything. We've probably had Jaden Lewis pegged to Auburn. We just hadn't predicted him to Auburn because we didn't know about this new staff. And now that this new staff has come in and got settled, started prioritizing guys of their own, Jaden Lewis certainly seems to be a priority for the staff, for Zach Etheridge. And I feel like he left yesterday or Saturday, and he actually said, I'm going to announce soon. Yeah. Well, soon, I'm just reading the tea leaves here. If Auburn's not having a big signing day on Wednesday, we talked about, creating some buzz on signing day. What better way to get it than to get an in-state 4-star kid committing on signing day? But he is the 2024 class. Malik Autry is a 4-star on 3 defensive lineman. He was at one time listed as an edge, but this kid weighed in at 280 something as a 10th grader. I mean, he's in 10th grade right now, but he's a 2025 kid.
Yeah, these are timers, man.
And I tell you, he had never met Jeremy Garrett. Jeremy Garrett, the new defensive line coach. So Malik Autry got to meet with him, got to meet with Vontrell King Williams, the defensive line assistant coach, and really hit it off with both of those guys. Really likes what Hugh Freeze is doing. And I tell you, Keith, one of the things, so both of those guys, there's 2 names, and it's not a surprise to Auburn Live subscribers. Keith and I both put in predictions on those guys Saturday. Timing wise, again, we're just reading the tea leaves here, but Wednesday, signing day, seems to be an opportune time for Auburn to release these commitments, if there are commitments, and we certainly do believe there are. So Wednesday, I'll be keeping an eye on Wednesday for some news to see if those 2 guys go ahead and break. I think there's some other guys, Keith, that Auburn not commitments, but certainly made big moves for.
Yeah.
I tell you what, one offer intrigues me, and I want to talk to him. I've put him on my list. D'Angelo Barber, the linebacker from Clay Chalkville.
Yeah.
Came in the linebacker group, folks. If you missed the call in the show last night, we really went in depth about the linebacker group. Josh Aldridge had some of the best linebackers in the country. I mean, you had DeMarcus Riddick, you had Xavier. What's the kid from Navarre?
Is it Xavier Hamilton?
Xavier Hamilton, yes.
Kevin Smith from Brunswick, Georgia. Miles Graham from Atlanta.
Miles Graham. What about is Nikar?
Nikar, let me.
Is he an edge?
I got to look him up here.
He was a new guy to me. He is committed to.
He's committed to Georgia.
That's what I said. Yeah, Georgia. Man, there were so many other.
No. He's a receiver. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. DeMarcus Riddick. That's who I'm thinking of. Committed to Georgia.
From DeMarcus County. Yeah.
From DeMarcus Riddick, in-state kid committed to Georgia, and boy, I tell you what, he looks good.
Oh yeah,
he looks good. Miles Graham, the Florida legacy, was in town. Man,
so they're not gonna basically just hand these guys off to these other schools. Their intent is to fight and scratch and claw. And we saw it, quite frankly, with Keldrick Falk at the end of the last cycle or in December, where it was kind of like, well, he's committed to FSU. Let's see what Auburn can do. Well, they didn't have that attitude. They said let's go get this guy. And so with Miles Graham, you're thinking, well, there's no way this kid wouldn't go to UF. His dad's a kind of a legend, not a legend, but great player down there, Ernest Graham. Well, maybe he is a legend. I don't know, but very good player. And Auburn says, no. Ernest Graham, his dad is and this is a 4-star linebacker at Woodward Academy. So he's friends with Damari Alston. And I think didn't Walker Kessler go to that same school as well? And so,
yeah, he sure did.
Auburn's thinking is, no, not letting this one get away without a fight. His dad and Cadillac Williams are very good friends. Let's push this one to the limit. Same thing with DeMarcus Riddick. Well, Kirby Smart went to his school a couple weeks ago to watch him play basketball, and Auburn's got him on campus. If Kirby's at his school, that stands to reason that they don't intend to give him up to Auburn, right? They're not going to make it easy. They want the kid, but Auburn's like, no, let's go get this kid on campus and push it and see what happens. It's a whole new vibe. And we saw this. We didn't see this with the Harsin crew, but we did see this when Gus first got there. They were out there fighting and scratching and clawing. And you can sell a vision when you're new. And they're doing a hell of a job doing that right now. They are selling the facilities. They are selling themselves as a staff. They're selling who they've developed that are guys in the NFL. Mike Hilton, DK Metcalf. I mean, tons of guys. Malik Willis. They're selling all of that. And they're saying, look, this is a school that's headed in an upward path. And we talked to multiple kids yesterday, Jeffrey, on Saturday, that said, and then we would ask them, okay, when Hugh Freeze talks, I mean, what do you think? Are you buying into this? Do you see this? And more than one, I can tell you that, said, I think they're headed in the right direction. Momentum. One kid said, who wouldn't want to sign with Auburn right now? And so, Auburn's going to try to sneak in and steal away some of these big guys. But yeah, the linebacker position, they've really got to pick it up there. They got to sign multiple guys. They're in it with a lot of dudes. Okay, they are, and that's good news.
In it with a lot of dudes. A couple of running backs. Caden Daniels from Mississippi was there. Jamarian Burnett from Andalusia was there. Brandon Hood, the 4-star from Eagles Landing, was there. Cadillac Williams was not there, and that was probably the only. I mean, not like he could help it. He was sick at home, so nothing much you could do there. But the defensive back class was loaded. I know you talked to Traveris Banks, the 4-star out of Northridge and Tuscaloosa. And Jaden Lewis, of course, we mentioned.
Zion Ferguson, the LSU commit.
Zion Ferguson, the LSU commitment, was there. Like I said, you take just the guys that we've interviewed so far, Keith, and you put them on a list, and you show their stars, positions, and all that. Dude, you've got a big cat list there.
Jeff, I think this DB tandem of Wesley McGriff and Zach Etheridge are just going to knock it out of the park. Individually, they're solid recruiters. I mean, McGriff was part of the group that got Robert Kimdichie to commit to Ole Miss when he was the number 1 player in the country. In fact, a lot of people don't realize this. He was actually lead recruiter on that. And so even though he wasn't a defensive back. So Wesley McGriff has cut his teeth across the South. He understands how to recruit. And then Zach Etheridge is really one of the up-and-coming recruiters in college football. And you put them together. And if you get Jaden Lewis, you already have Jaden Lewis, Amon Lane committed. Those would be Auburn's 2 commits if Jaden Lewis pops. And they're both defensive backs. And then coming off what they just signed, Tyler Scott, who everybody wanted, Colton Hood, who ended up in the top 200 of the rankings, CJ Johnson. I mean, so DB recruiting, I feel like, is in a very good place right now. And you're right. They made a big move yesterday. And Traveris Banks from Tuscaloosa, I think that's a guy right now, I'd say this would be the school he goes to. Now, things can change. We'll see. But they're very much in the picture there. I want to say FSU, Tennessee, and maybe one other school. But Tevis Metcalf, nobody's really talking about him, a 3-star in-state kid. I don't know where he sits on the board. We don't know where a lot of these kids sit on the board. But they offered him last fall, and he says that the new DC, Ron Roberts, just says, hey, my offer's still there. He's got a brother that's signed with Arkansas, and he's got a cousin named DK Metcalf, all-pro NFL receiver.
Who played for?
Played for Hugh Freeze, signed by Hugh Freeze. I think he only maybe played for him for 1 year at Ole Miss. But so they're in it with so many guys. And I think sometimes in the past we've seen Auburn aim sort of high, miss, and then circle back to guys. And then sometimes those guys you circle back to aren't too thrilled that you waited. I think they're kind of covering all their bases right now. They've got everybody feeling pretty good. Now, at some point in the near future, some tough decisions are going to have to be made, and they're going to sit there in February. The new staff's going to be doing what they call install. They got to install their whole program, their whole system. That's going to be happening even before spring practice. But at a certain point, they're also going to be looking at these recruits. They're going to be going through everything, lining them up side by side. Okay, we like all 10 of these guys. Now let's rank them. Let's prioritize and do that. They have not had time to really catch their breath that much, Jeffrey. It's been about building relationships, getting to know kids. Now they will go through and they will start separating, basically rating them by level. And then they'll have the spring evaluation period too for anybody that's not committed. I mean, there's obviously no brainers that if they want to commit, you take them now, like a Jay Lewis. Then there's other kids. You say, well, let's go back and see. Let's go around the South in the spring and see all these guys in person and get a little bit more info on them. And then there'll be even more separation there. So I think Auburn's in a good place right now.
Yeah. And I think Saturday, we've heard, over 200 kids were there, but this was almost getting them there just to kind of a little show and tell, almost to get them back. We want to get them here so that we can get them back. The next step, in my opinion, Keith, and I think you alluded to this last week, was getting them back for spring practice.
Yeah.
Getting them back for maybe an official visit in the summer. We saw a lot of official visits in the summer last year. We saw a lot of commitments in the summer last year. A lot of these kids want to get their decisions out of the way. So you've kind of sped up, and we talked about the December signing period. So you've got the spring eval period. You've got summer official visits, commitments. You've got the season. And then it's like a whirlwind until signing day.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, man, it'll be here before we know it. So the next step, in my opinion, you've got these guys on campus. And even the guys that didn't get here Saturday, you talk about Perry Thompson, Ryan Williams, KJ Lacey, all those guys were here the weekend before. So and Walker White he's coming in the spring.
He came the 16th.
That's right.
For 16th. Now he might come back. That's the 4-star quarterback. He might come back for spring practice. Now he's told me in the past, oh yeah, I'll be back for spring practice. But here's the caveat: he's probably going to we think there's a good chance he's going to commit somewhere before spring practice starts. Whatever school he commits to, he told me this morning he is not going to visit other schools. So if he commits to Auburn in the next month, he'll go to Auburn for spring practice and he'll go nowhere else. If he commits to Clemson, then that's it. Auburn's out.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
Going to want to build. And you see that a lot with quarterbacks. They know this. They don't need to be visiting a bunch of schools because they're trying to build a class. They don't need, if they're wavering, what does that say about it? All the other guys they've recruited? What does that tell?
Yeah, right.
So
set an example here.
Yeah, so they're in it with him. Obviously, Auburn, Clemson, Baylor, and Arkansas. We think Auburn or Clemson. Decision coming, we think. He says the next month or two. I think definitely by the end of February, if I had to say right now, maybe sooner. So Auburn's in. Now, that's the kind of guy, if you land him, then you can start building the class around your quarterback. If you don't land him, they visited other quarterbacks. It's obvious they have a real plan here, okay? Doesn't mean it's all going to come to fruition, but they've got their list. They've got, I think, as valuable as spring practices to evaluate people, the high school spring practices. Auburn's got such a huge behind the scenes, off the field staff now, Jeffrey. I think they're pretty on top of it. Now, the question is, these are teenagers, a 6-month window from the last time you saw him play. A guy could skyrocket or plummet. So that's why you do that, really, to cross your T's and dot your I's to get out there on the road in the spring. But yeah, I mean, there's some momentum. Offensive line recruiting was big this weekend.
Sure.
In-state guys, out-of-state guys. John Wayne Oliver, who we love from Nashville.
Chase McCoy
had a great visit. Chase Mala, he just picked up an offer from Auburn.
Sure did.
Chase Malamala from Palm Beach Benjamin. He's got a former NFL quarterback as his head coach down there. By the way, he attends the same school as Tiger Woods' kids, Palm Beach Benjamin. Now, this is a huge kid, okay, 6'7", 300-ish. Auburn's old staff offered him. What we don't know is he been re-offered. We don't know where he sits on the new board, but Jake Thornton was bringing in offensive linemen from around the South. In fact, you talked to one from North Carolina, did you not, Jeffrey?
Egan Boyer.
Yeah. So what's your feeling on him? Because I think they're in it with Chase Malamala and John Wayne Oliver. As long as they want to be in it.
He said they're at the top. I said at the top. He goes at the top. And then he was like, top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But it was almost like he caught himself.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So yes, Auburn's certainly in it for him. And he's 6'7", 6'8". Now he might be 250. He looks more like a tight end on the hoof right now, but he's got that frame to fill out.
You said it yourself. Get in the game with this first visit. Take that next step with the next visit. And then the spring game, maybe you're getting a commitment from a kid. You know what I mean?
You're getting an official visit in the summer.
Most of these kids, many of them had never been to Auburn before, okay? This is their first impression. What a hell of a first impression it was. So now you take it from there. Now what's the next logical step? Well, if you like a kid, you push even more. The Georgia commit, DeMarcus Riddick, where you say, why don't you come back for how about you come back in spring practice when there's not 200 kids? You come down for your own day, okay?
Yeah.
You come down for your own day. And then proximity to home, it's not going to necessarily win you him. I mean, Georgia's Georgia, right?
Sure.
But it allows you to get him on campus, and then it's up to you. I mean, he's going to visit. He's not that far away. He's going to visit, and then it's up to you to showcase what you do, okay? So, we feel like they made a lot of progress with a lot of guys. I know you're going to be coming out with some stuff, and we'll have more updates still. But, I mean, now behind the scenes, we're not actually in there. We're just talking to people and learning what we can. But, we didn't hear too many. I didn't really. It wasn't that great. So
it was a big hit. It did exactly what it was designed to do, which is create a buzz with a lot of different folks. It was designed to get them more interested, to get them back, wanting to come back, wanting to have that separate day, get more time with the coaches. I will say this, man. I know we're over the time, so we'll wrap it up here quickly. But you talked about, listen, the kids that are talking about Hugh Freeze. I got to talk to Hugh Freeze, man. I love that guy.
Yeah.
I really feel like he's got this program going in the right direction. He's got, I think it might have been Autry who said, man, the transfer portal. I watched what he did in the transfer portal. I don't think it's going to take him 3 years to get this program back. I think he's going to get this thing started off in the right spot. So Hugh Freeze was a big hit. The facilities were a big hit. The position coaches were big hits. Overall, it was a big hit, man. I would say 95% success rate.
Jeffrey, I was talking to somebody. I'm not name dropping, but you and I know people. Okay, when you do this long enough, people that you covered that worked at Auburn move on to other schools. And the funny thing is, this, we hear from a lot of people that used to work at Auburn. They're all curious about Auburn. They always want to know what's going on at Auburn, even if they've been gone 15 years. Anyway, so I was talking to somebody at another school yesterday, and they said, boy, I don't know, man. I just wonder how Freeze is going to connect with people after everything he's been through. And I said, man, I got news for you. If that's what you guys are banking on, I didn't know how people were going to react. And all I can tell everybody is, and I'm no shill to Auburn, okay?
Right.
All I can tell you is everything we're hearing from the people that are visiting are they like that he's into his faith. They like that he's got this redemption story. They like him. I mean, if we can be totally honest, only if nobody's really bringing up anything. They're just how much they like him. Not one. The only person I've talked to that brought up the past was Walker White, 4-star quarterback, and he said, "I like the redemption story. Not like I love it." And so, again, all we can relay to you is what people are telling us, and these kids are incredibly excited to meet him and talk to him and get. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'd love to be able to. Hey, here's the yin and here's the yang, but right now it's mostly yin.
Yeah, damn right.
Too much yang. I mean, I'm just going to tell you. Sorry, yang. It's what. Does that mean commitments are just going to be rolling in and
top 5 class? No,
they're going to pass Georgia and Alabama in the recruiting rankings and Clemson and all you. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. Probably not right away. Maybe never. But the interest that it usually Auburn sells Auburn, and it still does. But it's kind of like Auburn has its Dabo right now. Auburn has its Kirby, and I hadn't one like those guys, but just that figurehead. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know what I'm trying to say. It's just not quite coming out clearly here, but kids are
you think Auburn got it right just from talking to recruits? You think Auburn got it right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I agree.
Again, you got to get the guys. Now, if in 2 months we're sitting here and they got 3 commitments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they've missed on do.
You and I, look, there's a reason why we're doing this and not working out as, nuclear fission experts at MIT, or we've been wrong before, but it sure feels like Auburn's got some momentum. And other kids have told us that, hey, Auburn's got momentum. So we're not making it up, and you and I we have a lot of faults, but one thing we don't do, I listen to our interviews, we don't ask leading questions. So we're not like, so you had you must really love Coach Freeze, huh? No. What did you think about, we're asking open.
What do you think about him?
And letting them talk. And that's what they're telling us. In other words, we're not trapping them into saying all these great things. They're saying them on their own. Again, the results will tell the story here.
How do you feel about him, having come back from his past, and he's really doing well, and it seems like he's really, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
It's
right. So Auburn, they really need offensive tackles, and you're an offensive tackle. So is Auburn's needed offensive tackle important to you? And then the guy will say, yeah, Auburn's needed offensive tackle is important to me. Great quote, right? But you don't know what the question was.
He repeated the question.
Yeah.
It happens, folks. It happens a lot.
It happens a lot, yes. But,
all right, Keith, let's wrap it up, dude. I want to get some more details out of this weekend up. And we'll be back Wednesday to probably preview a couple of commitments. We hope, or at least we think. But we will do our best. Hey, man, y'all stay locked into Auburn Live on 3. We appreciate everybody. For Keith, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay at that left lane. See ya.